All right, hey everybody, this is Mr. Cross. It's Tuesday the 9th. Remember I talked about not being here on yesterday because my dad's having surgery on his knee. So what I want you to do is I want you to listen to this nutrition screencast and fill out your notes while you're doing this. Mrs. Olson is there to help with anything, but this should be a pretty smooth operation. So just get your pencils and pens ready and let's start. All right. All right. So we start our 4 day, uh, discussion about nutrition, culminating with Friday being a test. And so let's get into this. All right. So, what is nutrition? Nutrition is the study of nutrients and how the body uses them. All right, well, what's the purpose of food? Food is energy. Um, and so, with all our activities and all the things that we're doing, we need that energy. So, a calorie is a unit that measures the energy content of food. And so, the more calories in a food, in a food, the more energy is going to be there. What happens to the calories that don't get burned? And that's what people are really concerned about with our obesity situation going on. That's kind of what the whole idea, I guess, is that when you don't use the calories, they get burned, that don't get burned up, they get stored as fat. Too bad they can't get just stored as energy so that if you didn't eat the next day, you could use those energy stores up. But unfortunately, what happens is our body will store them as fat, and and that's not a good thing, obviously. All right. So how can so many Americans struggle with obesity and malnutrition at the same time? Well, there's a couple things here. Um, just the idea of like not putting in as many calories as we're using up is a big thing. um, Portion controls, the amount of food that we are eating in comparison to the amount of work that we're doing in a given day. The type of food we're eating. Lots of us are eating processed sugars and whatnot, and those tend to cause problems because of this being so high in calories, plus not very many nutrients. And so what's happening is we're getting people who are obese, weighing more than 20% higher than what is appropriate for their height, their age, and their body frame. And you can go to any website, probably go to your doctor, and they're going to tell you kind of what that rate is, where you should be as far as your weight is concerned. Some of it has to do with your height uh, and age to some degree, but body frame is probably one of the big things, and then just your activity levels. Now, malnutrition is another vocabulary word that we want you to know, and that is a condition in which the body does not get the nutrients it needs to grow and to function properly. Most of us in our country don't have this issue. Most of us are probably dealing with the other issues that we have all these choices and we're not necessarily making great choices, and we don't make great choices. This is what's kind of happening to us, the obesity situation. But if you go to third world countries, if you go down to South America, Guatemala, over in the African communities, Ethiopia, some of these other third world nations, um, we're dealing with people who aren't getting enough food, and they're not getting the nutrients they need to grow and function properly. So they may be delayed physically. They may not grow to their full potential. Their brains may not get enough nutrients to be able to function the way that they're supposed to. And so you see a lot of kids who are just underdeveloped in both physical, mentally, emotional, and social ways, like we talked about with the health triangle. So obviously, two completely different situations going on. The United States, we have some people that don't have enough food, and hopefully those people are receiving help from places like CARE and whatnot. But most of us in the United States are dealing with this issue. And this malnutrition issue is one where we see, like I said, in third world countries. So, what are nutrients? That's the next question to ask yourself. Well, nutrients are substances that are found in the food that your body needs and utilizes for that development. And so, there's some really, really important things that we got to get every single day. As you see, there's different kind of colors that we eat, and those kind of contain different kinds of nutrients. And that's one of the good things that you can do to try to figure out if you're getting the right nutrients instead of sitting down and writing every single one of them out. If you're eating foods that have a variety of colors and textures and whatnot, you're kind of ensuring yourself that you're getting some of those nutrients that you need to have. All right. So there are 6 essential nutrients that we need to have. Some of them are macronutrients, and then some of them are the micronutrients. A couple of these, like we got to get in great big quantities, and that's why they call them macronutrients. And then the micronutrients are ones that we don't need a whole lot of, but we need to make sure that we're getting them so that our body is functioning the way that it can. So what are those 6? All right. Well, you've heard about a lot of these probably. The first one is carbohydrates, which is the big one for energy. And unfortunately, we have 2 different types. And when I say that unfortunately is because we really should be eating foods that are complex carbohydrates. And those are things like grains, nuts, seeds, legumes, those that have a lot of energy and that is stored in our body and used for a long period of time. And then we have what we call simple carbohydrates, and those simple carbohydrates are the things like processed sugars and foods like that. And I told you guys, I stopped eating a lot of that stuff. And one of the things that happened is that I lost a lot of weight just based upon the fact that I wasn't eating those simple carbohydrates. Because again, those simple carbohydrates don't contain very many other nutrients other than just sugars. And so if you take, for instance, a Coca-Cola or a Pepsi or a Mountain Dew, and they have, 50, 60 grams of sugar in them, and then you look to see what other type of nutrients they have they don't have any. They just have empty calories, empty nutrients. Those sugars burn really, really fast and don't stay around very long. Protein, protein, same thing. There's 2 different types. There's your incomplete proteins and your complete proteins. Complete proteins are basically anything that is animal based. So if it comes from some type of animal, whether it be a meat or some type of dairy product or an egg, then you're going to be getting all those nutrients in that complete protein. And that's why they call it a complete protein, because it has all 9 essential amino acids, which are the building blocks of protein. Incomplete proteins is kind of what vegetarians, people who are strict vegetarians, may eat incomplete proteins, but mix the proteins together. Different types of proteins are gonna have different types of protein in them and amino acids in them, and vegetarians are going to have to mix those together so that they can get their proteins a different way, because they don't eat animal products, and so they're not eating that type of stuff. Fat is a food or a nutrient that has gotten a very bad rap, and the bad rap is that people think that you shouldn't eat fat, and although fat in excess can be harmful to us, we also need some fat in our diet to be able to have things like strong nails, to be able to have hair that is shiny and smooth, and also so that we do things like have good taste to our food, and then also to insulate the body and also to get a feeling of fullness. Now, minerals and vitamins are kind of the same thing. We need very small amounts of each of these, but they're important. And, with both vitamins, minerals, what they do is they really help our bodies like function the way that they're supposed to. They regulate body processes. And so what you need to really understand is that although we don't need high amounts of them, we definitely need them in our system. You guys know vitamin C fights, it helps our immune systems. And so we're constantly talking about that. Vitamin D, something that we get from the sun here in Minnesota, and we don't see it very much. We could use excess vitamin D, so sometimes we need to have it in other forms, like in milk. But two things that we need a lot, not a lot in the aspect of a lot of substance, but we need to make sure we're getting those on a daily or maybe weekly basis. Water is a nutrient, and we need it. I mean, we need it. We need a lot of it. We're talking 6 to 8 cups of water a day, not including activity, and so hopefully you're getting that. If you're involved in heavy exercise, then we're saying about a cup of water for every 15 minutes of exercise should be taken on a regular basis. All right. All right. So huge topic, but I mean, what influences your food choices? And there's lots of things. I mean, food, flavor, texture, appearance. What is your ethnic or religious identity? Is there things that you're eating that is part of your heritage, part of your upbringings? What about childhood experiences? What do you do when you are emotional, whether you're sad or you're happy? Do you have nutritional beliefs? Lots of different things. Do we live in a rural area or an urban area? What about our education? What about our occupation? What about our income? That makes a huge deal. Convenience. I mean, fast food has exploded in our country because of it's just so convenient to go in and grab a pizza or grab a taco from Taco Bell or something from McDonald's. And, with that becomes a lot of issues. So, not necessarily all bad situations, but we do have to look at like what's influencing our decision on what we're eating. And some of it is based upon, these factors here. All right. All right. So we talked a little bit about this, but I really want to hit home on this whole thing about this empty calorie foods because I watched a video on Netflix. It's called Fed Up. And Fed Up is all about that sugar is the basic lie of the food industry and that we need to really try to get to a point where we are not having so much sugar in our diet because it doesn't provide us with the energy that we need. It does provide us with energy, but the energy is very low quality. And so we're not getting any other nutrients. We're not getting vitamins. We're not getting minerals in this stuff. And so we're going to need a lot of help with that type of stuff. All right. Um, so what do you need to do for meeting your nutritional needs? Well, everyone needs the same nutrients, that's for sure. But the amount needed will depend on lots of things. Your age, your gender, your general health, and then probably one of the biggest ones is just your activity level. What are you doing on a daily basis? I mean, if you're going down to the gym and working out at the YMCA for an hour, you're going to need a lot different nutritional needs than somebody who isn't. And somebody who's a football player that plays on the Elk River football team, because of their age, let's say it's somebody who's 18 years old, will probably need a different amount of food intake than somebody who is of younger, maybe in a middle school situation. So you just got to take into consideration that we all need the same nutrients, but the amount needed is just going to be a little bit different. So I'm going to leave you with this thing right here. What's wrong with this picture? This is kind of about our lunch our lunch situation here at school. And so just take a look at this and then complete the assignments that are listed. And I hope you guys have a great day. Thanks for listening. Bye.